the passing of the ANC NEC member and Deputy Minister in the Presidency, Professor Hlengiwe Mkhize, who passed on this morning as a result of a short illness. Now, she previously held a number of positions. One of those is that of Minister of Higher Education and Training between the years 2017 and 2018. Before that, she served in several positions in government and the ANC. She passes at the age of 69. The cause of death is yet to be confirmed. Let's speak now to the ANC Women's League President, Bathabile Dlamini, who joins us from Johannesburg. Mambata, thank you very much for your time. Firstly, let's get your reaction. My understanding is that at the time of her passing, Professor Mkhize was the treasurer of the Women's League. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Let us pass our condolences to the family ga Sihlengiwe, kakhulukazi abantwana nobaba. I must say it was with a great shock to hear about the passing on of Hlengiwe. I only heard yesterday that she was in hospital. So I thought I was still going to talk to Ubabu Mkhize, but in the morning we received the sad news.
Yes. Do we know what took her? Apologies for interrupting you there. Do we know what took her to hospital in the first place?
No.
All right. And as I mentioned earlier, at the time of her passing, my understanding is that she was the Treasurer General of the Women's League, unless I'm completely wrong. But surely this is a time that the Women's League dips its banner for one of its leaders.
Yes, we dip our banners for Hlengiwe because of her long-standing involvement in the struggle for the liberation of the people of South Africa, but also for her commitment to the struggle for gender equality. And she was a relentless and a very patient person that would fight progressively for what she stood for. But also, she was an intellectual, but at the same time, an activist. Saying the ANC winner before the last conference. But that she was not the treasurer does not mean she was not a leader of women. Hlengiwe was the convener of the progressive women's movement of South Africa, and she was seconded by the Women's League to hold that position. And she continued being at the helm of the progressive women's movement of South Africa up until untimely passing on.
Yes, and as you mentioned, she was a very, very intelligent person, and this, in fact, was also acknowledged by the General Bantu Olomisa, who spoke to us a little earlier, praising her for what she said was a scholar par excellence. The legacy she leaves behind, how would you characterize that?
I met Hlengiwe at the University of Zululand, and they worked with the late Professor Aaron, and they were always on the side of the students. And during those periods, it was difficult, and more particularly at the University of Zululand, you needed a very brave people to be on the side of the students and give a direction at all given times. So she was not an opportunist that would be part of the struggle when it was nice. She was part of the struggle when it was not a fashion. And secondly, she used her skills to uplift the poor. She worked as we are speaking. She has been busy with the program of training women in agriculture throughout the country. And she worked with the poor. And she would say, Bata, we got money for agriculture. Let's then train women so that women can fight poverty and look into the issues of food security. But also she ensured that women always worked together at all times. She believed in unity. She believed in renewal and reconstruction.
Yes.
And believed in education. And on the time of her passing on, she was the Deputy Minister of Women, people with disabilities and children. And there too, she played a role. She, at all times, tried to ensure that women from different walks of life worked together.
Yes.
And therefore, that is a strong message to all women, that for us to move forward, for us to succeed, for us to be represented in decision-making bodies, we must emulate what Hlengiwe stood for. I agree with General. I was listening to him. Hlengiwe would not ask for many things if she's deployed somewhere. She would go do her work quietly and come back and report.
The time of her passing, Ms. Bathabile Dlamini, is a very awkward one for her political home, the ANC, the party to which you also belong. As I speak to you, we're about to listen to the head of elections, who is going to unveil the manifesto of the ANC going into this election. It's a messy time for the ANC. How would, in your view, the party fix itself in order for people like Professor Hlengiwe Mkhize to sleep slightly better, knowing that the movement in which she grew up in is a little better?
Oli, I think the ANC has always had challenges. And what is special is that it has always also found ways of dealing with its challenges. And at the center of the African National Congress are the people. We are a people's organization, and therefore leaders are elected to lead and implement. And at the end of the day, whatever direction we take depends on the people that give us a mandate. And if we all think in that way, we are going to have an ANC that is not an ANC of leaders. We're going to have an ANC which is a people's organization that takes the mandate from the ordinary masses of the people. And for us as women, it's important to try and ensure that we strengthen the ANC because it's the only organization that has shown commitment to the emancipation of women.
Yeah.
But it's women themselves that are going to lead their struggles and to try and ensure that Hlengiwe rests in peace where she is.
All right.
It is incumbent upon us as women to try and ensure that the ANC becomes a non-sexist organization. We must all believe in non-sexism, and we must all believe that women, not voters, women must be brought to the table, and we must negotiate and that we are well represented in decision-making bodies. Thank you, Paul.
ANC Women's League President Bathabile Dlamini, thank you very much, paying tribute to the late Professor Hlengiwe Mkhize, passing on this morning. Condolences to the family and indeed the movement she grew up in.